This is ZTO, the podcast that means business, now transmitting live to the world the award-winning John and Scotto on the Zombie Takeout Show. Hello and welcome to episode 540 of Zombie Takeout, the B-Movie and Cult Movie Show. I'm John.
Hello, I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, just one quick news story from Deadline. Lizzo to play rock and roll pioneer Sister Rosetta Tharpe in Rosetta for Amazon MGM Studios. This is interesting because, well, first off, if you're not familiar with the Sister Rosetta Tharpe, look her music up, particularly her rendition of Down by the River. There's a compilation on Spotify, 42 to 44. It's on there. A gospel singer and guitarist who was an influence on Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Carl Perkins, Elvis. She basically invented rock and roll.
Definitely.
Her guitar solos, well, a lot of people say Berry invented rock guitar. He borrowed it all from Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
And, the blues guys, too.
She took a lot from the blues. Her early stuff is very blues. But what I'm seeing online, I first saw this on the Guitar World account on Facebook, and I've seen it on a few other guitar-oriented, places. And a lot of people are pissed off that it's Lizzo playing her, which I'm skeptical about, to be honest.
It's weird. I think it's the first time I've heard Lizzo's name since that cameo on Star Wars.
Well, she was kind of canceled a couple of years ago.
Right. She was kind of canceled before that.
Yeah. I was thinking about that earlier. I think maybe they shot that before the cancellation.
Oh, I think so. They definitely did.
Yeah.
Because they filmed those so far in advance.
Yeah. For those who hadn't heard, she was accused by multiple backup dancers of harassment, assault, and multiple forms of discrimination. So she was kind of canceled. So I suspect this was probably in the works before then as well. Because that was 2023 that she was canceled. And Sister Rosetta Tharpe around 2020, during the pandemic, had a bit of a resurgence. That's when I first heard her.
Yeah.
A couple of her videos from the 60s went live, or went viral, I should say. So a lot of people are up in arms about Lizzo. I'm not happy about Lizzo. But a lot of people, particularly on these guitar forums, are suggesting Brittany Howard from Alabama Shakes.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense.
I get it visually. I get it because she's a guitarist. She can certainly sing Sister Rosetta's parts, vocals. She's both have great voices. And I think Lizzo could pull off the vocals. Thing is, she's never done any acting.
Yeah.
And this is what people are missing. It's a movie.
Right.
You need an actor.
I mean, Lizzo's acting in that Star Wars was
she's done a little
iffy.
bit of acting, at least. And again, I'm not crazy about Lizzo in the role. I'd much rather they found a black actress who could sing Rosetta's parts.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are countless of them out there, and he's in the right age range. But Lizzo had a name, presumably when she was offered the role.
My only guess is Jennifer Hudson said no.
But with regard to hiring a guitar player, an actor's job, it's literally the job to learn to fake doing things convincingly.
Right.
It is much better for the production to hire someone who doesn't play, train them to mime it well, and then hire a studio guitarist who can learn Rosetta's entire catalog in like an hour and bang it out in one take in their home studio.
There's a Ricky Gervais show called, I think it was called Extras, where Ian McKellen does this great fucking thing about, each role he's done and like, do you know I'm not really a wizard kind of thing. I was just acting.
Yeah, he couldn't actually move metal with his mind.
Right. He goes, every fucking role he did. Did you know I wasn't really... I was just acting.
Yeah. So, I don't love the idea of Lizzo in the role either. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I got to push back on Brittany Howard because, as far as we know, she can't act. Hell of a singer, hell of a guitar player, can't act as far as we know.
Maybe she can, and maybe she can. Who
Yeah, but
knows? We've never seen it.
yeah, they need a name who can draw. And again, Lizzo, not so much anymore, but probably when she was offered the role and probably signed on for it, there were probably contracts involved so they couldn't pull out.
If she's got good PR people, people do love a comeback story.
Mm-hmm.
And I know cancel culture is real and everything,
Mm.
but it also, yeah, people have short memories.
Right, right. Yeah, along those lines, I feel the need to always remind people when you get into this sort of stuff that Pee Wee Herman was also busted in the same sting that got Jeffrey Jones.
Hmm.
Pee Wee came back. Pee Wee never got it. Never even touched Pee Wee.
That's true. He was doing that MTV award show like right after
Yeah.
it.
Touching himself in adult theater had more of an effect on Pee Wee than that scandal, even though it ruined Jones' career. And the minor involved was 17. I also feel the need to point that out. Not that it's
Wow.
right, it's still wrong, but it's not what people think it is.
It also didn't bother Fred Willard's career, but I think Fred Willard's career was pretty much done
Yeah,
by
yeah.
then too.
Uh-huh. Anyway, on to this week's movie, which is from 1985, Max Headroom, 20 minutes into the future. Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by Nightingale's Body Bank. When you need to make some fast cash and you just so happen to have a spare body laying around, come to Nightingale's Body Bank. But remember, clinical brain death only carries 20 points.
And also brought to you by Truth in Advertising, but sometimes the truth hurts. Just a bit. All right, so we are 20 minutes into the future.
Or like 40 years in some ways.
20 minutes into the future, that means there's only 40 minutes of the movie left. All right, so we're beginning with a journalist who is about to crack the big case. He's got a handler, I don't know what we'd call them, a guide, a lifeguard, a hacker, sidekick that's in a remote studio that is working through them. But just as he's about to break in and get to what seems like a weird thing to be going into, a fire of some sort, it's a very shaky camera intro, so very little is actually revealed of what's going on. The plug gets pulled on the story, and he's pretty much left to get beaten up by, I'm not sure who was protecting the fire either. Honestly, the intro really doesn't make a lot of sense the more you think about it. How did they know that this person spontaneously combusted in this apartment? And
that makes sense later in the film, why they're investigating.
It does, but how would you know that person at that moment? There's like an apartment fire, and he's going into it like he knew something was up, and he got pulled away from it, and then there's people there that beat him up, and he just escaped, and of course to get back to the studio to, slug the hacker that abandoned him pretty much because it was supposed to get him out, but didn't actually get him out. He did just kind of leave him there and just started talking instead of actually doing his job. So he gets a new hacker, and I know one person was very thankful that they avoided the romantic subplot, but came so close to it.
Didn't even occur to me. I mean, there was some uncomfortable flirting early on, but
yeah. And I was like, oh, I guess this would be the time to go. Kind of weird if he was just almost dead, but they wisely did not go there. If this were an American film, it would have happened. But he winds up going back in. He figures out a way to. He overhears a conversation. The hacker was that good that she caught a conversation of them pretty much laying out the whole plan, and he makes a move to sneak back in to get to the heart of the story. And there are some. Uh, Actually, he does confront one of the network executives, and he does figure it out what's going on. But then he gets some thugs chasing after him again, and there's a long chase, of course, and well, he eventually does not make it out, unfortunately.
Well, he
He
does make it out of the building, but very abruptly and very painfully.
Yeah, he did not have enough headroom. Um, well, actually, he did, but then the evil hacker raised a ramp that put him
Right.
into it. So they think he's dead, but I guess he's just kind of comatose. So mistaking him for dead, they're going to sell his body. But the bad hacker, has this brilliant idea of downloading his brain pretty much into a system, which at first you're kind of like, well, why the fuck would he do that? And of course, the logical answer is because he could.
Yeah.
He doesn't really need a reason.
Well,
It's just
he had his own thing going where he was working on this technology to digitize people's brains
yeah.
for his own evil
So
reasons.
he takes the advantage of it, and of course, by doing this, he's literally, well, not literally, he is figuratively shooting themselves in the foot and revealing the whole plan, the whole evil plan, which is that the network has been using an advertising scheme where the ads are shrunken down kind of subliminally into like fast 30-second bits or
No, it's 30
three
seconds
second
crammed
bits.
into like 3 seconds, if I recall correctly.
Yes. So it's just kind of this subliminal thing, but the side effects have been, well,
Spontaneous
spontaneous
combustion.
combustion, as one would expect by seeing subliminal advertising at a
I'm
large,
honestly
large.
surprised we don't have those already.
I'm sure we do and don't even aren't even aware of them. Like,
Maybe.
they wouldn't be like 3 second ads. It would be, just
Yeah.
like half a second.
Right.
I'm convinced that there's been subliminal advertising going on for a few decades now, at least, and that's why we are in the shape we're in
Well,
right
I
now.
mean, there has been in the open. It's called product placement.
Well, sure, yeah. Um, what happens here, of course, is that he's created a digital nemesis, pretty much, for him and his boss, the evil network executive, and at the same time, also misused the body that was not dead. He escapes. So it's probably the most inept villains we've seen in a really long time.
But they were a lot of fun.
They were, they were. So he escapes. He gets led to his. He contacts his hacker, who leads her to her apartment, where he gets to sleep it off, and they prepare, of course, to go back in. And meanwhile, his digital persona gets pawned off by the goons for a little. Actually, they don't even get money for him. They don't know what's in him. They just had a computer, and they're like, I don't know, just some junk that we were told to
Yeah.
get out of the way. But they don't even get money for it. They just give it to this dude, like, if you could fix it, it's yours, kind of thing. And so the digital persona they give unwittingly to a pirate TV station that winds up getting ratings for the digital persona. And of course, our hero Edison Carter, the reporter, comes back and confronts everybody, and hilarity ensues.
The character of Max Headroom was created by George Stone, Annabelle Jankel, and Rocky Morton to host a BBC4 music video show. Morton thought British youth would be suspicious of a young person trying to appear to be one of them, and might prefer the cynical irony of a host who appeared to be a conservative man in a simple suit and tie, trying to appeal to them but not having a true understanding of their culture. The film was intended to provide a backstory and origin for the character ahead of the BBC show.
What brought Matt Frewer into that, I wonder?
I was just going to mention Frewer. Been a huge fan since, Max Headroom, of course.
Yeah, I loved his sitcom Doctor Doctor.
Yeah, I was just looking through his credits today.
There's the rogue time traveler in Next Generation, that
Mm-hmm.
one-off. But his whole career has kind of, it seems like it's been cursed. He's only
Well,
had,
he's a TV guy.
right?
He's by and large a TV guy. He's probably done some film roles that I'm not aware of, but he's the TV guest star guy. He's only had the two main roles in a run-going series. Neither did well.
Everything he's been in has only lasted like a season or two, or it was a one-off.
Right. Dr. Doctor also featured, if I recall correctly, his name correctly, Julius Carey, was Lord Bowler in Briscoe County.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think. I mean, it's been so many years
I
since I've
just pulled
seen
that
it.
character's name out of my ass right now. I did not remember it
And,
until 2 seconds ago.
and as soon as you mentioned the character's name, I remember the character.
Mhm.
But man, it's been so many years since I've seen Doctor Doctor,
Uh-huh.
and so many years since I've seen Briscoe County Jr.
I just happened to connect the two back then, and it stuck for some reason.
Damn, there were some people that went on to do things in Doctor Doctor, and I just can't remember their names actually.
That would be an interesting one for the TV show if we can find it somewhere.
Yes, it would. Oh man, I want to look it up now.
But we're both big Matt Frewer fans, of course.
Yes.
So that's a big point in the favor of the movie. Frewer's a great actor, but the man could not fake a punch.
It was well, I think a lot of this comes down to directing because
Yeah, probably.
a lot of this just seems really thrown together.
That's kind of its charm for me, though.
I mean, this has a really good story in its bones, but if they just developed more time, because you're really thrown into it quickly, which can be cool, but I think they could have used just a couple more minutes of build up, like who this person was, how they got to this, point in the story kind of thing.
Should mention the movie is less than an hour long.
Right. And it shows. It's just
But I love that about it. It goes by fast. It doesn't waste any time. Yeah, it's a little overwhelming and confusing at times, but I'm okay with that. Visually, it's very, very 80s music video.
yeah.
That boardroom scene, wonderfully arch.
And what was the eye makeup he was wearing? The big
right.
heavy. I mean, it was just like double eyeliner kind of thing.
And there was some great techno babble, both when Bryce was explaining, the evil hacker was explaining the spontaneous combustion, and when he was explaining how he uploads brains. Just some really nice techno babble. And this is one of the reasons I love the movie. It feels very B grade.
Yeah.
Even though, it's got some great acting. Matt Frewer, Amanda Pays. I don't know any other actors' names, but they all do a great job.
The kid was really good.
Yeah.
He was. I think that was another flaw. He needed to be more of the villain than
the head of the network. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the network head should have met with an unexpected ending early on, and it should have been the hacker that was the main bad. Because he would be the hardest person to really get.
Right. I will say it had better hacking visuals than Hackers over a decade later.
Well, yeah, but that's not saying much.
Great cheesy gore when the flipbert caused the one guy to blow up.
Yes. Not expecting that, because I do know this was a TV movie, but it's a UK TV movie, so...
But it aired over here, too, because I remember seeing it when it aired.
Yeah, but I don't think they used that here.
They probably didn't. I don't remember if I saw that particular scene, but I know it aired here. Loved the intense 80s lighting. Like I said, it all just looked like a music video, especially the building he was checking out.
And a lot of music videos took, from Blade Runner or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And yeah, good point. That is Blade Runner in a lot of ways. I will say, I think it's the best TV movie we've reviewed.
Maybe, but I mean, we've got after some really bad
Yeah,
TV
it's a fairly
movies,
low bar.
Mazes and Monsters.
Loved the music video editing when Edison's trying to get away from the thugs, Bruegel and Mahler. And the music right toward the end of that scene before he crashes. It's just very cheesy 80s, pop rock.
It was almost like a French farce, the chase, though, where
Mm-hmm.
they're coming out of doors and going in, and the elevator's going up, the elevator's going down. It was kind of drawn out more than it needed to be because it was kind of like oh, what's gonna happen here?
And it does explain the name because as he's trying to leave on a stolen motorcycle, uh, the evil hacker, drops a gate and it says max headroom 3 meters. And it's the last thing that Edison remembers before he crashed and went comatose. So when they upload his brain, it's the first thing that his digital self says. So they just decide to name him that.
So it's short. Are we close to the end yet?
No, he just became Max.
You're all right. He just became Max.
Or he just crashed and went comatose, and now they have Max. I liked the early versions of Max.
I think it needed more Max too. It felt like Max was a very side piece with only a couple scenes, you know?
But he was also that in the series that followed it. And I kind of think it was better to keep it just a cyberpunk movie and throw this character in a little bit here and there. Just it's meant to be his origin story.
True. I was kind of hoping he would actually have played a role in the plot too, instead of just kind of being this thing on the side of just, oh, he's getting all these ratings kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was also really fast how they went from just, three people in the audience to a few million.
I'm actually wondering why he said three because it was just two. It was the couple that ran the
That's right.
pirate radio station. I think he was
I think
including himself.
he was including himself, yes. I think that would have been a lot more interesting though if he was more of a person, if he
Mm.
had. But maybe it was too expensive to
Yeah,
have too
probably.
much of him.
Well, the thing is, Max, in his final form, was not CG.
Right.
That was Frewer in a rubber suit and a headpiece.
Okay. And yeah, right. A lot of it is voiceover too.
Well, no, like
That you don't see him.
when we see Max Headroom on camera, most of the time, it's Matt Frewer in a prosthetic headpiece and a rubber suit.
I mean, that makes sense.
It was a live action. It wasn't CG because they didn't have the technology to make it look that good at the time.
I think they just did some lighting effect
Yeah, yeah,
off him.
yeah, of course. And they probably messed with it afterwards. One of
Yeah.
your titles mentioned hair stripes, and
Yes.
I gotta shout out one of the thugs. I think it was Mahler had fantastic '90s boy band facial hair, way ahead of the '90s.
Right, right. There was that, and then there was the punk who was the old punk who was running the pirate TV station,
Yeah.
who had like he had a mohawk, but on the side he just had like these stripes cut into his head or shaved into his head.
It is kind of funny that they thought broadcast TV would be this big that far in the future. Watching from
They
2025.
just didn't see the internet coming.
Yeah. Um, I will say, I think Frewer was a bit too good for the movie. And the reason I love this movie is not because it's good. This is one of those movies I love because it's cheesy and, kind of broken in a lot of ways. But Frewer, of course, brilliant. And the scene when he escapes and just before he calls the hacker, he's just showing so much pathos, really putting everything into the role. And
Right.
he goes kind of Shakespearean in a cheesy B movie. It's an interesting mismatch. Loved the messages when he gets to Theora, the hacker's place. The first one is for a compilation of digital watch tunes.
Oh, right.
And the other one is just a voiceover that says, call this number and find out what an incredibly nice guy God is.
That's the religious sales pitch of the future.
And this whole Blipvert thing, honestly, I don't see it as being unrealistic. I know they
Oh,
were, pitching it for the far future and, probably trying to come up with something that would never really happen. I could see it happening.
Well, of course. I mean, the Black Mirror stuff where,
Hmm.
you're gonna
Yeah.
they're
This in many ways was Black Mirror before Black Mirror.
true. But was it like Black Mirror where they had it where you had to keep watching the ad?
Hmm.
Because I mean, the technology is there where they know your phone, the eyes are on your phone, but you couldn't get through the ad until you stopped, until
Hmm.
it played through.
And there are ads now, I think it was on Netflix, where if you switch tabs, the ad pauses.
Oh yeah.
That pissed me the fuck off. At least let me switch tabs and do something interesting if you're going to force me to listen to an ad. Um, but during that argument about the Blipberts, the woman in the boardroom says, we could go porno early. I remember
Yeah.
that line from seeing it in 85.
There was like one of the rival networks was called Pornovision.
Mm-hmm. And I loved how the thugs ended up working for Edison and capturing Bryce and the head of the network.
Is that what happened? Because it was kind of confusing. Like how
Well, we
they
don't
did.
see Bryce, or we don't see Edison contacting them and kind of, well, we see him kind of tying up Bryce.
Yeah.
We know that he got to Bryce and tied him up, and you can just assume he got to the henchman through Bryce after that, and it made him a better offer.
The whole resolution happens so fast where it's just like, wait, what?
And the one board member who was always against the Blipverts because they caused spontaneous combustion sold the head of the network and Bryce out.
Right. That you get, it's it was time to cut loose and say we weren't in this, it was this guy.
Mm-hmm.
They needed a
Right.
fall guy to get out of it.
The only thing we don't see is when he recruits the thugs. But I feel like I like that better as a surprise.
It is all just weird that it happens. So I like rewound it. Like, did I look away like just to miss something? Like when like they just they're getting the bodies out, they take them with them, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, there he is.
They're getting out of the van. You think they're going to track down Edison, and then one of the thugs just reverses the van into the security who was working for the head of the network and kills them. They get out of the van, the thugs, and force Bryce and the head of the network in to see Edison and Theora there.
And then after the credits, they show the thugs following them in back into that tunnel.
Okay, I didn't see after the credits.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was be
Which,
anything on a TV
yeah,
movie.
there is because it ends with they drive off into
Mhm.
the underpass,
Right.
uh, and then the credits roll on with the underpass as kind of the background and all the stuff blowing around, and then when the credits are done, you see the thugs van following along,
Okay. Huh.
going back in. So it's like, well, wait, what does that mean?
Well, and one final point. I love that Max was a runaway success for a pirate radio station.
Yeah.
He legitimized a pirate radio station. Love that. On to sequels and remakes,
Well, of
which
course,
may
yeah.
explain your question. In addition to the aforementioned BBC4 show, which ran for 2 seasons, the movie also led to an American Max Headroom series. This one was a sci-fi drama that continued from the film. And I would love to find this. I don't remember. I know I watched it back in the day, but I don't remember any of it.
I I think I remember liking it. So, and it was disappointing that it got canceled so quickly.
Uh,
But I think it cost a lot.
yeah, but the thugs may have been in there as well, which explains why they were following Edison and Theora. On the brains,
On the brains.
I loved it. I'm going 5.
Oh man, I don't know if I'd recommend it. It's some good stuff. It's just they needed to flesh it out a bit more, so I'm going 3.5.
All right, and what have we learned?
Uh, well, if it's possible to use blipverts by sound, do you think maybe we should look into that? I mean, just a bit.
And I learned that CGI will never be as good as a guy in a rubber suit.
I'd love to see a remake of this, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
or reboot or whatever, it would be really different to do in this current, era with this technology.
And since Frewer is still with us, head of the network.
Yeah.
Although, how do you replace Matt Frewer?
Honestly, he could be Max. I mean, he just wouldn't be Edison.
Yeah, fair. I do have to mention, he was in his late 20s when he did this.
Yeah.
He went bald as early as I did.
Well, some people that happens pretty early on.
Anyway, that's it for Max Headroom 20 minutes into the future. Until next time when we'll be reviewing Hatchet, a good old, cheesy B-grade slasher flick. Till then, of course, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life,
There you are.